officers remain in serious condition following a shootout on the city's north side tonight.
It's the end of an era for Tulsa University's basketball program.
It was a day for decision for Tulsa voters. We'll tell you how the one-penny sales tax referendum fared at the polls.
And aid from the government to help those who really need it. Well, it's not on the way. Those stories and more up next on News Center 2.
From KJRH in Tulsa, this is News Center 2 at 10 with Sam Jones, Beth Ringel, meteorologist Gary Shore, and sports director Jerry Weber.
Good evening. 2 Tulsa police officers are in serious but stable condition right now at Hillcrest Hospital following a shooting earlier tonight during a drug raid. News Center 2's Marty Griffin is standing by live at Hillcrest with this update. Marty.
Thank you very much, Beth. We are in the emergency room of Hillcrest Medical Center at this hour where friends and relatives and fellow police officers are awaiting further improvement on the conditions of Officer Tom Campbell and Officer Don Arndt. Now, we have just learned that Officer Campbell will be operated on this evening. He was shot in the abdomen just below his bulletproof vest. Officer Arndt is doing pretty well. Apparently, he's been sitting up and talking to friends and nurses, and that he's improving as time goes by. He was shot in the arm. His injury was also serious, but chances are it's a good chance that both of these men will pull through. Now, to tell you what happened earlier this evening, apparently the police officers went to an address in the 800 block of Birmingham Place to serve a warrant on a drug arrest. They knocked on the door, one officer at the front door, one officer at the back door. They identified themselves. When they identified themselves, the shooting began. Somebody inside the house began shooting with a 12-gauge shotgun. Officer Campbell took a shot to the abdomen. Officer Arndt took a shot to the arm. Both men were immediately taken to Hillcrest Hospital. There are 2 suspects, which we have just learned, in custody with the police department. The first suspect's name is David Wiggins. He is believed to be the shooter of the 12-gauge shotgun. The other suspect's name is James Myers. Both men are expected to be in their early 20s to mid-20s, about 25 years old. Neither man has a past record, so police going to the scene did not know that they would be this dangerous. As we told you before, Beth, both men are improving right now.
All right, Marty. Thank you very much for that report. In other news, it was Election Day for Tulsa voters. At issue was the extension of the one-penny sales tax that was originally approved in 1980. With all of the vote counted, the sales tax has again been approved. The yes vote totaled 36,856, or 54.4%. The no vote was 30,781, or 45.5%.
Well, if the roads and bridges in your area were damaged by the storms that hit in late February, it may be a while before they're fixed. Remember, we told you last month the governor and I asked for disaster assistance for 7 counties hit by severe storms and flooding. The storms caused about $2 million in damages to county roads and bridges. And today, the federal government told Governor Nye that state and local governments will have to foot the bill for those repairs. We talked to John Reed in the governor's office today, and he told us that they are appealing the decision and hope to have an answer for all of us in a couple of weeks. PCBs, the toxic chemicals known to cause cancer in animals and possible liver and skin ailments in humans, is a reason for growing concern in Tulsa tonight. Preliminary test results show that the basement of Tulsa's federal building may be contaminated by PCBs. News Center 2's Rick Peterson has this exclusive report on this possible health hazard.
It happened on April 16, 1982. A public service company transformer containing PCBs exploded at Tulsa's main post office building. The chemical was reportedly cleaned up and until a few months ago, forgotten. That was until the local postal union requested the basement be tested for possible contamination. Results from the first test showed levels of PCBs exceeded health guidelines set in San Francisco after a similar transformer fire there. Results from a second set of tests were obtained exclusively by this reporter today. The report shows that of 18 samples taken in the basement area, 16 showed levels of PCBs higher than the guidelines set in San Francisco. A section of the basement beneath this dock area has been reportedly sealed off, and anyone going in the area must wear protective clothing. Thomas Meyer represents some 500 postal employees who work at the federal building. Meyer says he worries about their health.
People are extremely concerned, and that's not only just my people, all the people in the federal building. We've had several reports of people experiencing problems. We have no medical certification as of yet. We are proceeding to that end, though.
Meyer says the union is considering filing a lawsuit against the Public Service Company.
Federal postal officials say they do not believe there's a health hazard at the building. But just to make sure, next Tuesday, the National Institute of Safety and Health would begin testing here for PCBs and dioxin in an effort to determine once and for all if the building is safe. Rick Peterson, News Center 2.
That transformer explosion at the Federal Building isn't the only one drawing concern tonight. A Tulsa woman is suing Public Service Company for $1.3 million. Mary Ellen Baker claims PSO is responsible for injuries she suffered from the transformer explosion outside the Beacon Building where she was walking.
Up next, a fired Oologah coach gets an apology.
And microwave ovens. They may be convenient, but are they safe? Those stories when we come back.
Last month, we told you about 3 high school coaches in Oologah who were all fired from their jobs, even after one of them had already submitted his resignation. Today, the Board of Education in that town apologized to Coach Mike Fairmond for the dismissal. Fairmond claimed his firing was unfair in light of his resignation. His job with the Oologah High School basketball team was terminated March 26th, along with 2 other coaches' jobs following charges of alleged misconduct, after their meeting instead of firing him.
For years, low-alcohol beer has been available in Oklahoma grocery stores, and now state lawmakers are willing to try something else, low-alcohol wine. A Senate committee has approved a bill that would allow low-alcohol wine to be sold in grocery stores. As with beer, any wine sold in stores must have less than 3.2% alcohol.
Some doctors call it the last resort for couples desperate to have a child. It's called in vitro fertilization, and it's becoming more commonplace in Oklahoma. In fact, doctors at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center in Oklahoma City say they're ready to attempt a laboratory conception soon. They say 10 women are on the waiting list for the test tube fertilization, and that the first operation should take place within the next few weeks. Up to now, Hillcrest Hospital in Tulsa was the only facility in the state where the operation was performed. You may have heard about the dangers of nuclear radiation. What about other kinds of radiation? News Center 2 health reporter Diane Jacobs takes a look at some new questions being asked about microwave radiation.
This may be what you think of when you hear microwave. It might surprise you to learn these microwave dishes on the AT&T tower carry long-distance phone conversations. Many car telephones also work with dishes like these. And when you get stopped on the highway with a radar gun, it was microwave that snagged you. TV and radio stations use a lot of microwave equipment. This dish receives network programming from a satellite. Most of the waves hit the dish. A few do miss. Nobody's quite sure what all the stray radiation might do to you. Mary, find out. So do the Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Navy. They're paying for most of O'Connor's research.
We need to find the level at which we were confident that no biological or behavioral changes are occurring. And we don't know that level yet.
She's trying to find that level by exposing rats and mice to different forms of low-level microwave radiation. Right now, there are no standards in the United States and not much research. So on Friday, O'Connor leaves for the Soviet Union. Regulation of radiation is much stricter there. Soviet scientists believe even low-level microwave radiation is dangerous.
And microwave sickness in Soviet radar workers is defined as headaches and irritability and insomnia.
The research O'Connor is doing here at TU is one of a kind. She doesn't know yet what her results will be. She plans to wind up the study early next year. Diane Jacobs, your health reporter, News Center 2.
And we'll let you know what she thought of the Soviet research when O'Connor returns to Tulsa at the end of April.
And Beth, one of the world's most exclusive clubs has another member tonight, a Swedish man in his early 50s. And today, he received the 4th plastic and metal artificial heart. In so doing, he became only the 4th person to receive a permanent artificial heart. The first 3 recipients were Americans. Doors are open again to American products in Japan. The Japanese Prime Minister reduced trade barriers between the U.S. and Japan today under pressure from the Reagan administration. The Prime Minister also went on national television overseas to encourage the Japanese to buy more foreign goods. He's pushing a measure designed to ease growing tensions over trade between the 2 countries.
One thing we wouldn't trade would be our beautiful spring day today.
That's true. And how many more, though, do we have in store? Well, Jeff's up next with the answer.
Today is the first recognition day for American ex-prisoners of war. Tulsa area POWs were honored at Floral Haven Memorial Gardens. News Center 2's Delinda Jeffers and photographer John Ross were there.
The Eagle still flies today, thanks in part to the man who spent months and sometimes years in the prison camps of Germany, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam.
Yeah, that's since my time. I was in World War II.
That's what I wanted to
There are 800 ex-POWs in Oklahoma. They share a strong bond forged by the miseries of POW camps.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Many of them were at the Veterans Field of Honor today, along with their wives, who waited endless days for them to come home. They were joined by a generation too young to remember a war.
These men demonstrate a strength that none of us have ever experienced before if we are not ex-POWs.
But there is not enough strength to forget.
I'm still taking medicines for my emotions and seeing the doctor. And he for the rest of my life.
And as the planes flew by in an aerial salute, these men who saw the worst of war also remember the best. What goes through your mind when the flag goes by?
Just that I'm proud to be an American, because when we saw that flag go up when we were liberated, that was a wonderful sight.
And that's the news. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.